I'm rocking it already. I got my party lights on. You got one sad purple light back in the corner, man. I don't know what to say about that. Look at my party. Come to my party.
This is the first time I ever thought you'd throw a better party than me.
Happy Halloween, first of all. That's what I want to say. Happy Halloween, everybody, because it's our 100th episode. There's going to be some big 100 graphic here, I imagine.
I'm excited about that.
Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see how much time I have. So today, considering this is our 100th episode, which is, kind of exciting, I will say we have over 200 videos actually uploaded to the channel. On the back end, it's a little anticlimactic, but it's our 100th podcast episode.
Hey, man. Hey, when we first started, I did not know if we'd get to 100. It's shocking, honestly.
It is amazing. Well, and I think, we can talk about how we started and, where we got to. Before we do that, I thought it'd be interesting. One of the things that I think that gets lost on our podcast is that we talk to a lot of other people, but we never get the chance to talk to us. Everybody's telling me, the more personable you are on these podcasts, which I'm not particularly personable, the likability sucks. Like getting to know us perhaps will elevate our likability and then drive views.
Is that the
and subscriptions?
Is that the plan today?
That is the plan today. Get to know us.
So wait a second. You actually think if the viewers learn more about us that we're going to actually get more views? I mean,
or we'll just bring this experiment to a quick end.
This could be the beginning of the end right here.
So tell me, growing up as a poor young Indian fellow in Northbrook, Illinois.
Really struggling.
Where did it go?
Yeah.
Where did it go from there?
Well, born in the city, raised out in Northbrook. We're with you, North Shore. Indian immigrant parents. As you have learned, I had like an interesting life. One foot in the Eastern world and one foot in the Western world. And that Western world was calling my name big time. And so that caused some challenges, but I definitely, in my youth, I think what it taught me now is, when I look back on it, is to be more independent and not if I need something or want something, to go get it instead of waiting for somebody to do something for me, because my parents were not around. They're working their butts off, right? So it taught me that skill. Which I never knew that it really was. It was happening. I went to college to University of Iowa, went into computer science because my oldest brother did, and it seemed like tech was going off, and I was like, all right.
So you actually have a degree in computer science.
Yeah, MIS is what it was called.
Management Information Systems.
Yeah. And in that whole process at the University of Iowa, I learned that I am not good at computer science. The coding was really hard for me. And they put me straight into C++. So it came at me pretty hard. My brain didn't work that way. Couldn't wrap my head around everything. Do whatever I can to get a C. Graduated in 98 and went to the Silicon Valley, which I think was the beginning of, that was the biggest key to my career, was moving there. No idea what doors I was opening up, but it was 1998. .com was rolling. Ended up at NetApp. I was there for 4 years as an inside sales guy. So I saw the whole growth of, the stock market going crazy during that .com days. And I also experienced it after 2001 when it went down and it just crashed. And I was there in the valley, seeing these tech companies that were stocks were splitting and blah, blah, blah. I saw the rise.
Well, NetApp in the days was a big mover.
Oh, yeah.
Big mover.
Yeah. NetApp stock, I was there for 3-4 months and the stock split twice, and I didn't even know what a stock was, So, and then I realized, when I signed that paper, I actually had some shares. That was a great experience. And I just made so many friends, and I just love the Silicon Valley. I love going there. It's like a second home for me.
Not a great place to meet a wife, though.
No.
I understand.
Yeah. So when I saw that in Playboy magazine, that was one of the worst places to live. And I think it was number one at that time, the worst places if you're single.
Single man.
Yeah. Yeah. Single man. Yeah. Single women. Oh, yeah. You're fine.
Looking for a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking for a woman. So then I ended up coming back to Chicago, and I started at this company called Datalink as a little reseller rep. It's my first outside sales
You started
job.
at, not started.
Yeah, started at, sorry. We were like only 100, 125 people at the time. Again, no, I heard good things about the place, met the people. I really liked the people. I was like, I'm going to try to go do this partner world and try to build a business. And a lot of these guys seem to, have made it. But what I learned early on was it's going to take time. And so it's like, do I want to take that? Do I want to make that risk and commitment to like building a business there? I did it, never looked back. Amazing experience at DataLink. I've had some great companies, right? Working at NetApp and DataLink, two wonderful companies. And then at DataLink, I met you. Then my world got rocked. I'm going to fight this little nerd on all of this stuff. And it's going to be awesome. But maybe you can talk a little bit about you.
Born in Illinois in the North Shore. I first started out in Highland Park and then grew up in Winnetka. For those who are familiar with the area, I went to New Trier. But I had actually a weird sort of journey there. I was part of something called the Center for Self-Directed Learning, which actually would probably look more like a Montessori program. But the idea was to kind of create the environment of a small liberal arts college within the context of a high school. We had some just amazing people going through there, and it's actually all chronicled in a book, Creating Self-Directed Learners. I'm in there with a bunch of other people, writing a chapter. And I went to Montessori school as a very young child, and then, kind of had that experience in high school. We'd start the year off with, like 3x5 cards, and everybody would put an idea for a class on there. And when enough people, there's a kind of a critical density around an idea. We all got together. We figured out who's going to be the co-learner or teacher in that class, what kind of budget we needed for it, what the curriculum was going to be. And then we'd have to develop a whole lesson plan and meet with the facilitators. And
it's really helping me connect some dots, by the way. The carpet matches the curtains,
Well, it was a very entrepreneurial sort of environment, right? I mean, you kind of built your own curriculum every year. Didn't have grades. We instead had these sort of what turned out to be like really 360 reviews, and you brought all these people in, and your entire academic world was exposed through all that, and everything you didn't do and everything you did do was in there. And then we had to create this 25-page synthesis of all of that, and that was essentially our transcripts. Really did a lot for me, actually. I think graduated from high school, went on, like I was going to be a photojournalist was sort of my first idea, and then I sort of left and took a little bit of some gap time. I hitchhiked through several war-torn countries in Latin America, and spent some time sailing, chasing after whales in California. Then came back and, eventually got my degree in political science at DePaul University. While I was working my way through school, I did work 3 jobs. I worked for a college. I worked at Oakton Community College in the honors program there, trying to help people matriculate to good colleges, learn about scholarship opportunities, do things like that. Booking bands and engineering and producing and doing live sound at concerts. And while I was doing that, I was also doing some graphic design work to, kind of pay for my computer so that I could have it for school, and went into the advertising and design and marketing side. Worked in ed pub for a while, educational publishing. Again, that education theme keeps looping back in, and started a company with another guy I was working with at another educational publishing company. And we built that company into an ed pub house and did a lot of advertising design. We were, integrated marketing firm. We were one of the first web development firms here in the Chicago area. As the educational publishing side of the world got very complicated with consolidations of the big publishers and everything was getting eaten up, we kind of left that behind, went into the integrated marketing side of things and built that up. Then I went and did a couple startups, raised money, did that whole thing, and kind of went from the creative side more to the tech side because I got burnt out in the creative side. And then when I was in the tech side, I got burnt out on the tech side. So I liked the creative side always. Did a lot of startups that were more high risk, and then then went back to the world of more stable, established large enterprise. So I kind of oscillated between those things. I'm currently in the large company, stable environment phase of things. Although I suppose FUTR is in some way an homage to that startup world, right? Did a lot of the CIO, CTO sort of stuff. Did operations. Got a lot of interesting experiences, some just absolutely horrible experiences along the way as well. I've, done the boom and the bust, and more times than I would like. And it's been an interesting journey. And then
what you just summarized there, and I know you extremely well, and I don't know how well our viewers really know you, right? But it's what I've always been so impressed by is the amount of different things that you have done. You've done many different jobs in many different, domains, and your ability to like learn something, and like if you like it, like you just learn it.
I like it.
Yeah. If you care, you're just gonna learn it. And so you've had all these different experiences, right? And
well, I like to think that my hobby is collecting hobbies.
You're doing a good job.
I've got all the gear to prove it,
dude. Well, you're doing a good job. On top of that, you're also a musician and doing all this stuff. I find people like you very fascinating, right? Because it's like I'm so different than you. I've had 2 jobs. I haven't done a lot of change. I've stuck with the company, a little risk adverse as well. That's why like working with you is a trip, because you bring so many different perspectives.
Well, I got a lot of weird stories for sure. And if you get a couple beers in me, I'm prone to tell you.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't even know how you have like this data storage capability. Like you are like,
so I'm old.
Yeah.
I've had time to do a lot of these things.
Yeah. Well, what do you call it? Your friends used to say all like the useless thoughts or useless information that's in your brain.
Full of useless information.
Yeah.
My wife reminds me of that all the time.
Yeah. And you are totally that guy.
I'm working on it.
No.
Shut your mouth.
No, that's
my wife tells me that all the time. Now's the time when you need to shut your mouth and not talk. I kind of do me.
Hey, when we first met, you being 10 years senior than me, and now us knowing each other for a decade, right?
Yeah, now you're at where I was when I met you, pretty much.
Yeah, it has been great to have like a mentor in many ways, where like, you and I would talk about some stuff that was, 10 years there's a lot of maturity opportunity in 10 years, especially in your 30s to 40s, and then 40s to 50s. I think there's so much to learn and so much to like grow from, and we all go through some life shit, right? And
that's for sure, man.
Yeah, and like having all that experience and all that useless knowledge that you have has been very good for me, because it's helped me with a lot of stuff.
Well, dude, I gotta say, you've been great, a great friend, obviously, but also, just great to work with, because it's like you have skills that I don't have, right? I mean, you've got a great, sales sensibility. You're really a great people person, and like you have a likability factor that like is something I'm envious of, because I think you relate well to people. I think you got people want to hang out with you.
Yeah, dude, that means a lot.
Which is great. But I think you couple that with like a lot of like business sensibility and the ability to, like there's a lot of complexity to navigating all that, and you do a hell of a job of doing that. And that's one of those things that I don't do great.
Yeah,
I'm not.
But remember when we first started, man, and working together, and you came from the client side, being the C-level guy, buying this stuff, and I was selling to people like you. And then you came on this side, and it was probably like a year or 2 in, and you're just like, this stuff should all be so much easier.
It's so broken. It's so broken. That's what people on the client side don't understand. It's like the sales world is so messed up. I mean, it's like,
I know.
Like every time it's like, oh, well, we got to start over on, like we changed one item in the quotes. We got to start over and the price is going to be different. And why is the price different? What are you people doing? It's like, oh my God, it's crazy.
And now we had this model. Now we want you to go to this model. Why? Well, because like that's where the market is going. And so we're just going to tell you that's just the way we're going to go. And so now buy an EA from us because we're a software company or whatever it is, there's just so much wacko like stuff going on.
It's crazy.
It is nuts.
It is crazy.
And at the same time, like my biggest thing is like, I just want to do right by the clients, Like I want to make sure that we have their best interests in mind in all of this stuff, right? And I try to shelter them from all that.
I like building stuff, and seeing things, that didn't exist before come into existence. I'm not too interested in selling or buying things, but I mean, that's an important part of it all, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I recognize the value of all that.
Yeah.
I just want to talk to cool people about cool stuff.
I know. And, I learned from you on some of this stuff, right? It's like you're the ones that like just from a entrepreneurial kind of perspective is reaching into your brain. When you and I have been creating, FUTR, there's been a lot of like decisions that we had to make. And, are we going to even start? Are we going to even do this? Like when we even started the podcast and the first time you even like said like, yeah, when we start a podcast, I was just like, yeah, right. Great idea, Chris. Like, what else do you want to do? A game show, a talk show? I dismissed it very quickly, but then you helped me say, hey, we can do it. This is what we need to do. And then you had me buy a bunch of shit.
Well, here's something that people don't know about you. Is like you've got a little bit of a theater itch in you. You've got a little bit of theater background thing going on. Got a little bit of that theater itch. So you like the performance, which is great for a salesperson.
Yeah, it's all because of my ego is so sensitive that I need everyone to like me. And so like, I am always like, I'll be whatever character you want me to be. It's like, if I do this and like, you like me, then all right, I'll be that guy, I've learned this about myself through this whole Enneagram and, having, hurry and all that stuff going on.
You have to watch that episode to find out about Enneagrams.
Hey man, now I know my personality, right? I mean, I'm not excited about it, but at least now I get it. I better understand why is it that I feel the way. Why do I have to like, be successful and win and and be everyone's friend, like everyone. And someone doesn't like me, to me, like it totally ruins my day. It's like,
see, I'm kind of used to that, so it's all good.
Well, I do think I just need another 10 years and then I won't care either. I don't know.
And you're like, whatever,
but
man.
Like,
I did say to my wife the other day, it's like, because I am 56 years old, so in case anybody was wondering. I'm 56 years old. I don't have to care anymore what anybody thinks. I can do whatever the hell I want.
Yeah.
I've gotten to that old man stage where I can just say, screw it. They'll go, he's just old. He's just getting old and cranky and crazy. I'm hoping I'm going to get away with that bit.
See, I don't know if this is going to be good or bad if people learn more about us. I think this is the kind of stuff I've been warning you about,
Yeah, this is the stuff we were trying to hide away. Hide this away.
Yeah.
We'll just put this in a vault under a mountain.
The
somewhere.
real us is going to
I know a mountain with a vault that we could put this under.
Of course you do.
I built a data center 225 feet underground beneath a mountain.
EMP shielded.
Yeah. So, that's a thing too. Since we started talking about future, the podcast, why don't we talk a little bit about like how that all started? I mean, like the first thing is like FUTR originally, the joke was like, well, it spells future, but it also stands for flying under the radar, which is what we kind of want to do. Cause we were kind of like, we're old people. We shouldn't be on social media. That's going to be embarrassing. And, our lives are, we're from the generation of like, our lives are personal. We can't share our lives.
Exactly.
People. That's not
like
good.
But,
but then we decided, oh no, that's exactly what we want to do. So, I mean, it kind of came out was, like we were traveling a lot and we were going to shows and we were going out to the Valley and working with, venture firms and things like that. And it felt like, we were traveling all the time, but our clients weren't. And they were just stuck back at the office trying to, solve the problems of their business. And they just never got a chance to see cool new ideas and talk to people who are doing cutting edge things to like learn new ways of doing things or find out new products that can help you solve your problems. I mean, there's that one, comment that Trey Tharp made. I didn't know I had the problem until I saw the solution.
Yeah, right.
Which is true. Sometimes you get so used to your own problems, you don't realize, if we fix this, our lives would be a lot easier.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes it just takes seeing that product that'll do that to help you out.
Well, I think that was the cool part of how it all started with us is that we never approached anything in terms of money or like how we could benefit from it. It was always like this curiosity that just kept bringing us back to more and more of like, how do we learn everything? How do we, like, people talk about venture firms, but what does that mean? Right.
Yeah.
And then what do? We just start getting in it. Right. And we start to figure it out. Then the amount that you can learn about that whole ecosystem, I think that has been so interesting. And
well, there's so much to learn from that group, like the startups and that. And not only that, but like if you're helping them bring products to market, you're working with the founders of the company to do that,
That's right.
And, you're getting a lot of their attention, and, they are then talking to your customers, and they're, sharing that attention with your customers, and they're providing a lot of value, and the customers are giving feedback to those founders and improving the products in a way that's, material for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, it's such a great, mutually beneficial sort of ecosystem. Whereas,
Correct.
if you're you're selling another Cisco switch, it's like, nobody needs to know anything about a Cisco switch. They pretty much know what's happening with a Cisco switch at this point. It's been around, there's not a lot of value you can add around it. But, some of these startups, they bring new ideas to market, new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things. And that's where I think,
learning from all the mistakes, it's like,
and they're making the same mistakes that some of these enterprises are making, but they're doing it at an accelerated rate. So there's a lot to learn from that.
Exactly. But one of the things that you and I have always talked about is that whole go-to-market. It takes too long for customers to vet companies, make a decision, implement it, be successful. Like that has to happen quicker. And when I think about security specifically, it's like if this company comes out and has a solution that fixes this problem and they do it really, really well, the sooner that we can get it out to everybody, the better. You know what I mean? And the sooner that we can do that as a nation, it's just going to be good for us. Israel's got a bunch of the security firms for sure. But so do we, right? And so we have there's enough where, if we put the focus on it and the right focus on it, I always wish that we can help customers like make good decisions faster and lower their risk.
Right. And get value out of new technology faster. That's the goal.
That like no longer.
And we've done that a few times.
These sales
big
cycles,
ways.
Look at our sales cycles. The one project that you and I are working on right now, the big, big infrastructure project. It's been over a year, 16, 18 months, in requirements.
But this is a massive project with cutting edge technology. And
no, for sure.
Just a handful of people in the world who get to do something like this.
No,
really.
I know. Yeah. But,
well, and while you're thinking of that, I'm just going to point out the fact that we do have future merchandise.
Yeah.
So if you go to future.tv and look up in the pull-down menu, you'll see merch store, and you can get shirts like Sandesh is wearing. Stand up, just model that for a second. Yeah, look at that. Check it. Got these great shirts. We got mugs. We got hats. We got... we've got what else we've got? We got mugs. We got water bottles. So actually, the water bottles are really cool. If you need Christmas gifts,
go to the merch.
That's a place to go. So anyway, so getting back to the start of the whole thing. So I remember, like in the early days when we started kind of thinking about these things. I remember being in Dallas, in a loft hotel in Dallas, and I had my laptop and my iPhone, and I was recording some stuff, just with the window light, making like kind of prototype. And I showed you, I'm like, look, we could do this. We could kind of start making videos for our customers and this, that, and the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of grew into, like getting a little gimbal for the iPhone and filming, some of those early trade shows with the iPhone on like that DJI little gizmo or gimbal.
And you were that guy. You were that guy.
I was that guy.
You were going to like. What I find super interesting is every time that we go and you're out there, like, and you're so comfortable with it, like that is so not my jam, right? But your ability to just like walk into at like a booth after booth after booth and just be like, so tell me about yourself, like what are you guys doing? What's really cool? Like I find that fascinating. And
I
so
loved it. And I don't know if that'll ever come back so I can do that again, but I used to love to go to every booth and just say, tell me your value proposition. How does this differ? How do you differentiate? What is it? It's like, I love doing that stuff.
Yeah.
I know that got a little tiring.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? That is how we met some of the companies that we started to research early on.
Trade shows are great because you get to meet so many companies. But now, like the trade shows, they don't have like some of those young companies, which is frustrating to me. But we'll see if that comes back. So anyway, so we started doing that, and then like the gear started getting upgraded, and I like got the better camera. I got that Canon M6 that I would walk around with on an improved gimbal, and we do that and start interviewing people. And then the like the lavalier mics came.
I bought them too.
Yeah. And then the pandemic hit.
Yes.
First thing we were doing, we were creating a big show that we were going to do. And that was going to be, at the city winery here, we did a buyout of that thing. We had 25 startups and 3 venture firms. And we had Matt Ross, who, if you're not familiar with, played Gavin Belson on HBO's Silicon Valley, which is an amazing show.
Still amazing.
Which we'll have to do our 5 favorite episodes from at some point. We've been talking about doing that.
Love it.
He was going to be the MC for the event. It was just a great thing. And then that was scheduled for, what was it, April 29th of 2020?
Yeah.
Peak COVID shutdown season.
But hey, the pivot was early in March for us, right? And
well, I had already stockpiled a lot of toilet paper by then.
Oh, I know.
I was early into like, this is not going to go well.
I saw that.
I think end of January we had piles of toilet paper in our house.
The Patels are like, if we had toilet paper, that's cool.
Toilet paper is important.
Yes, it is.
So then so when that all kind of fell through, we talked about like, hey, like we've got all these startups. They're looking for an opportunity to market themselves. We want to talk to them. Let's do a podcast with it. Did the first one with Adam Voss, our good friend Adam Voss from Echelon Design, who was the producer of our event, and now is with Surreal Events, doing metaverse stuff.
Awesome dude, awesome company.
Awesome dude, awesome company. And we went on from there, and we started talking about some of the topics that were important to us. I mean, we talked about, I hate to say the word pandemic or COVID because YouTube downranks that, but we talked about like mental health, talked to great founders and leaders, and it was interesting. When we started off, we did a much longer format show.
Well, that's what I was going to say is like, because of the variety that we were doing, I think we got really good data about like, what do people really care about? What's valuable? How do we actually get eyeballs? So like, we need to create a situation that the viewers, it's convenient for them. They like it. You know what I mean? It's an enjoyable experience for them. Those are all the kind of things we just had to go through, And I think having that diversity and just having all those different kinds of conversations just helped us narrow in more about where's this all going to go, because there was still like podcasts. There were definitely tons of podcasts even before COVID, but that really accelerated when COVID hit, then
especially
everybody
the YouTube
had a
ones.
podcast. Yeah, the YouTube podcast, big time. Everybody that it's like you had to have a podcast.
Like I was saying, we explored, like doing long shows out, I think we did one that was like an hour and a half or something like that. And then when it was an hour, and then we did, like 5-minute things, and we experimented with all the different times, and we tried doing long shows and then breaking them up into smaller episodes. That was a total bust. And it turns out it was like that 30 to 40 minute time frame seems to be that sweet spot where people watch it, like even the short ones where everybody's like, oh, you should just make short videos. It's like the short videos didn't go anywhere, and YouTube didn't elevate them at all. But that like 30 to 40 minutes where, I can get a workout in and watch this or whatever
it is,
seemed to be that sweet spot. And, we'll probably go over today, but 30 to 40 minutes is sort of like where we find our biggest success on that front now. And some of the short form stuff just didn't click with people for some reason.
But you know what, man? The great thing is we're just going to keep experimenting things and trying things, and we're going to learn from them. And that's the fun part, man. Like if this shit was easy, then it's going to be boring.
Oh, this stuff is incredibly hard. It's so complicated.
It's so hard.
I just couldn't even explain to you how complicated it is to do all this stuff.
Oh.
And it's not the filming it or all that stuff. It's all the other stuff, the nuance, because like the promotional aspect of it is really difficult.
Yeah.
But I think the other interesting thing is that and I'm not even sure if anybody notices, but we do put at the front of this about the link to the audio version of the podcast, because we do an audio version, and there's, like produced transcripts and, all that stuff.
We're getting a lot of views from that.
We do. But the interesting thing is that
listens, I should say.
The podcast side has been slowly and steadily growing. Although we didn't put a lot of focus into it, and now we are starting to, invest more in that side of things. But the interesting thing about it was we started getting approached by so many people from the audio side of it rather than the YouTube side of it. And we had a lot of like PR firms and companies reaching out to us and saying, hey, I'd love to be on, or I have a client who would love to be on your show and things like that. I just had 2 calls today with, different groups.
That was a moment of joy for me, was when because at first we were just tapping into our network, right? And our core
network. Which we
network.
still do. We still tap into our network, but it's not as, like if we need an episode in between. And the other thing is, like, we know the same people. So we're going to tap the same people. But when people bring other people to us, it's like, like one of our top video, like Propeller is now, I think, of the podcast has the most views.
Is it 5,000? I saw 4,000.
Something like 4,000 or 5,000 views for that one.
Wow.
And that was something that was brought by a PR firm. And
There's
it was
been
sort of out of our
ones.
Yeah, and it was kind of out of our world, out of our orbit, and it was a really great conversation, fun podcast. But we've had a lot of really great experiences with people we wouldn't have necessarily thought. Like Kira Deneen was a really fun one, I thought, that we did not too long ago.
Oh, for sure.
Who we encountered through a podcasting association, the podcast association. She had a great show on genetics and a lot of fun to talk to. So it's been a really interesting mix of people that,
totally.
It's expanded our orbit so much.
I am learning so much. See, you already know a lot of this shit, and then you just dive in.
A lot of stuff
you
too.
do. I know you are, but I know you know quite a bit about this stuff, but I don't. And so I love it. I love the prep calls, and then I love going to research it and reading whatever it is that you're going to put together. And then during that podcast, the reason why I'm listening so intently is because I am trying to learn. I'm very interested in all these topics, and I think it's all those different experiences that we're having and those different conversations, I think, are so awesome. And now that we don't have the burden to have to go find people and people are coming to us, that's for me, it was like, okay, so people do care,
Right.
And then it just kept going, and
Yeah, well, and the thing is, recently we've gotten a lot more activity on the show. I just looked, I think our latest numbers in the last 28 days, we're doing about 26,000 views, which is, we've hit as high as 30,000, but I think we're kind of averaging around 25,000 views a month now, which is great, and looking to grow that still.
And it's going to be interesting, man, to continue. Like you and I've talked about, even the format. The good news is we can do whatever the hell we want, right? Wherever the value is, whatever the good, and enjoyable for us, that's where we want to go. We want to keep the doing cool things theme going.
And this is a great opportunity to say, if anybody wants to see us do something interesting, or if there's something that we have done that is interesting, leave a comment. Let us know what you like or what you want to see more of.
Totally.
We have access to a lot of people and a lot of interesting, talent, and give the people what they want, I guess, right?
Exactly, man. That's if something doesn't exist, let's go build it, right?
Yes. And we've got a lot of other ideas for things that we're putting together around all of this too.
For sure.
You've certainly been, one of the things that people are not aware of is that you've kind of got a somewhat stealthy project that's going on right now that you've been kind of spearheading and putting together, and that's going to be, out there in a bigger way, pretty soon.
It is exciting, man. It's like, I think this is the purpose of this 100th episode podcast, is like taking a time to reflect and look at the whole journey.
Yeah,
where
and how it's changed.
Even before when you and I met each other, when we our adolescence, our academic careers and experiences, and then to the work world, and the journeys that we've taken, right? Like, I would have never in a million years thought I'd have a podcast. Like, there's no part of me that ever thought, like, let's get a camera and some lights and mic and, never. So I look back and I'm like, man, this is so cool. Like, I wish we were making money, but this is really cool. Like, like the whole experience, and I have to thank you for that, is, I brought what I could to the table and you brought what you could, and we put it together. You know what I mean? Like, that's the good thing about you and me, is that we don't think the same way. We have different skills, which I think the yin and the yang
big time
is a good fit. You know what I mean?
I think that, doing this podcast has really made me so much better at what I do. I mean, I've learned so much. I've met so many cool and interesting people that I just wouldn't have gotten an opportunity to meet. We get to meet founders of companies and people who have built incredible things. I mean, people who've made so many successful businesses, and just like having access to them, to talk to them. And, like for people, like I've been getting an MBA education from all of this.
Totally.
I'm sure, like this is the cheapest MBA you're gonna get by just listening to some
just
of these people
listening
talk.
to these people that have been there, done that, and to like everywhere from like the IIT nerds that we've had on, right? A lot of these founders are those IIT, but like when you talk to them, and there's just moments where you're like, I'm just like, wow, this dude has like totally committed his life, or female, boy, girl, committed their life to this tech thing, and they are so good at it, and it is their core being. You know what I mean? It's
and then you boy, girl, or somewhere in between, because we've
right. Or
explored all that too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly.
It's been a wild journey. Like the 100th episode. I mean, we've known this has been coming for a while, and we've been like, what are we going to do for our 100th episode? What are we going to do? I guess this is it.
Isn't that? I think that speaks to, our lives. Time is hard right now, man.
But it's been a really fun journey. I mean, it's just a lot of like late nights working on this stuff, a lot of weekends. I mean, every Saturday I'm always spending time doing editing. Sunday, like I'm always getting things wrapped up, and I'm pre-publishing everything, staging everything for the launches that we do on Mondays. So like Sundays,
you're so
really
good at it. You're such
night.
a robot. You're such a robot.
I got a lot of things automated.
I know you have a lot of things automated. I know you do. I can tell. When we're trying to do things that other people aren't doing, then there's a risk that comes with it, because most people are going to want you to fail. They're going to tell you every reason why your idea is stupid, but like, that's the one thing for me is like, if I feel something, not always, but like when I do, I have to do it. Somebody telling me that I'm wrong is not going to stop me from like doing it, if I really truly feel. But I love the other side of it, right? Because then I can think about it and really try to analyze it for what it really is. But ultimately, I like taking those risks. I like making the bets. I want to say, yeah, this is what I think what is going to happen. It's great when you're right. It sucks when you're wrong.
It does. But, hey, that's part of the journey. If you're not failing, you're not trying, right?
Totally. And in all of those times where I was wrong, big time, man, have I learned from those, like not like that. That's helped me more than my successes. It's those like wounds that I can tap into and be like, oh yeah, it doesn't always turn out like that.
Well, it's been an incrable year. I mean, like, I think the thing
cheers to that.
Cheers
Chris.
to that.
I don't know if you got your tea there. Yeah, you got a tea there. Cheers. Yeah, cheers, buddy.
I'll say the thing that I think is the hardest in this world that we're doing here is longevity, just keeping it going, because we've seen so many folks start it and stop it abruptly, or get discouraged because like the first year of it, you're going to get, 20 people watching your episode. You put hours and so much effort into it and researching it. And, you get like 20 people watching.
I know.
And you're like, oh, why am I doing this? And it's like, nobody seems to appreciate this. And people tell you like, why are you doing that? That's silly.
Well, how are you feeling about it right now? Like, how are you feeling about?
I'm feeling great about it. I mean, I think we proved it out that we can do it. I mean, we've got an audience, and it's growing, and we've got so much opportunity this year. And I'm looking forward to like this year. Before we got onto this call, we talked through like, we got like 10 or 15 episodes in the works right now that we're talking about working on and trying to get scheduled. We got a lot of great, cool guests that are, ready to go for, next year. And, I think we're pretty much almost booked out to the end of the year. Got everything kind of, we're running out of time before the end of the year. But we're still trying to get everybody booked and, get the episode shot, and then so we can get them in the works and stuff. So that's exciting. And, it's just so much opportunity here. And
totally,
I think we've had some great conversations about things that we can do to improve the show and really, do more.
Exactly.
I'm excited about it. I think this is great. Looking forward to it.
It's not about where we started. It's about where we end, right? And it's
about the journey more.
Yeah. Yes. You could. Yep. Even better.
Because who knows where it's going to end?
Yeah, but
probably with me suddenly dropping dead at my keyboard.
And definitely, that is a possibility for both of us. I'll probably go before you. So, and let's just be honest.
I don't know about that.
No, I think so. You're still drinking tea on our podcast. I think we can all learn from that, man.
So I'm looking forward to the end of the year and trying a couple new things at the end of the year, and just trying a whole bunch of new stuff next year, and growing the audience and expanding and doing more stuff. Everybody always says like the first 1,000 subscribers is the hardest. It's harder to get the first 1,000 than the next 100,000 is what everybody always says. So,
it makes sense.
I'll let you know when we get to 100,000 if it was or not, but.
Well, now that I'm learning more about how YouTube actually works, I get it.
And we really, really are serious about growing the audio side of it too, because there's just a lot of great opportunity on that side to do cool things as well. And so that's another big focus we want to get going.
For sure.
To bring it all home, because we've made this episode longer than we're supposed to, because that's how we go. It's been a great 100 episodes, dude. And appreciate you being along for the ride.
Oh, it's awesome.
And excited for the next 100.
Mm-hmm.
And go get some future merch if you
and just do so cool stuff. I am in for as long as we can. I am in.
Well, we interviewed Paige Lord, and she said you guys you should just bill yourself as two dads talking to cool people about cool stuff.
Yeah, and that is pretty much what's happening.
She's a marketing genius. And
yes, she is.
her TikTok channel has like gotten very sophisticated lately. I don't know if you saw it. I was chatting with her the other day, and she, got a whole bunch of new equipment and stuff like that. And now that she's done with her Harvard degree in, privacy law, she's, focusing on growing all that other stuff. So that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, no, man, totally. Yeah, amazing.
Everybody from like, Disinfo Gal, Lindsay Alexander, we had some really fun stuff with her.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We keep in touch with her a lot, we had Ravi Patel on, the actor, who Meet the Patels, but even more important, we had his parents on, who are like personal heroes of mine. That was such a,
but those are important ones for me personally, because as that's one of my jams is trying to, expose the Indian culture to other people, and it's like anything else, man. We're all humans, right? It's the more you learn about other people, the more you just appreciate them, Well, and
it's a lot
the
of cool stuff to learn.
And there's differences, right? Like we're all so different.
Well, dude, thanks for being along in the journey here, man. It's been a wild ride, and for those of you watching, click that like button, hit that subscribe button. That helps the channel a ton. And we'll see you in the next one.